Ever since I was really young, I just have had a love for kids. If there was a kid around, I wanted to be holding it and playing with it. And so I've always loved children. And somewhere in there, I can just remember being very young and just having this heart for orphans. My dad was an orphan. He was from Armenia and adopted eventually. And so it's always been something very real to me, the knowledge that there are kids out there that need homes, that don't have parents, and that they need to be cared for. So just as a young child, and then growing up as a teenager, just this heart for orphans always just was growing stronger and stronger in me, and yet I didn't really know what to do with it. I went on a short-term mission trip to Brazil and worked with kids that were in an orphanage and were HIV positive, and I loved my time there, but I didn't necessarily feel like that was my calling to that country and that place. When I got back from that trip, I just began for the first time to ask God what He would have for me. And it was shortly around that time that, for whatever reason, the country of Russia was just laid really strongly on my heart. The passion was so strong to the point where I would lay on my bed at night and lay awake all night, sometimes till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking about these kids, and literally, it's hard to explain, but literally, emotionally, physically feeling pain for these kids. And I would just lay on my bed and just weep, like I was carrying a burden for these kids. And I would ask God, what do you have for me? Tell me, I'll go, I'll do whatever you want me to. I still didn't know what God wanted for me, but I felt like maybe I could somehow connect K2 and my passion and just combine it all together. And I just felt like, you know what, I don't know exactly what God has for me, but I feel like I just need to go to Russia. Like, this is the year, 2005, I'm going to go to Russia. When we got there, we just spent every day in one orphanage, sometimes two, and so we would just go from one orphanage to the other, meeting the kids, being with the kids, and it was just, the kids were amazing. Every orphanage that you would go to, there was always at least one or two kids who would grab a hold of your hand, and the whole time you were there, they would not let go of it. And we would experience this, like once, sometimes 2 times a day. And so you would go into these orphanages and you would bond with these kids, and then just a few hours later, you'd have to say goodbye. And so it was pretty emotionally draining. This one particular orphanage that we went to, it was near the end of our trip. There was a little boy there named Sergey. And I remember the first time I saw him, all the little kids were eating lunch in this little room, and we kind of peered in, and they were looking back at us and wondering who we were. And this one little boy kind of like looked over at me and caught my eye and had this huge smile on his face. And I remember looking at him and thinking, that's my kid. Just something in me said, that's your kid that you're going to love on. And so a little while later that day, I got a chance to just hang out with Sergey in his classroom and talk to him and just love on this little guy that didn't have, a mom or a dad. The biggest thing for me was just really realizing what these kids needed. I think when a lot of people think of orphans, they think of clothing and food and shelter, that these kids need that, and they do need that. But my biggest realization was that these kids need love. These kids do not have somebody in their life that looks at them and tells them that they're special and that their life has great meaning and great value, and that they are amazing and that they're loved. They don't have that. They don't have a parent laying in bed with them at night, until they fall asleep. For a long time, I didn't do anything about this passion, this heart I have for these kids. I think because I felt so small in the situation. When I started reading things about these kids and how many thousands of them there were, it just felt kind of hopeless. And I just thought, you know what, I'm one very average person and I can't do anything. It just felt so overwhelming. But God gave me a heart and a vision for it. And if I can share it with a lot of other people, and together we can get on board on this thing, and we can, I think, change human lives, change kids, not just for today, and not just give them a better life on this earth, but more importantly for eternity. We can have an impact for forever. And that's what I don't know, that's what I hope for us and for K2 and for these kids over there.
All I wanna do is give this life to you. Oh, all I wanna do is give this life to you. All I wanna do is give this life to you, and let your will be done till it's all I wanna do, and let your will be done till it's all I wanna do.